Kirkwood Mall on History Talk, where we look at the people, places, and events that shaped our community. Perhaps no other single development impacted Bismarck more than Kirkwood Mall, which propelled massive building activity nearby and altered local consumer behavior. At an original size of about 422,000 square feet when it opened in 1971, Kirkwood Mall was the city's single largest private development to that point, and the largest shopping center in North Dakota until West Acres opened the following year. It was the city's third shopping center, second of which fully enclosed, following Arrowhead Plaza and Northbrook Mall. The original Y-shaped building was described as a three-point, quote, pivotal configuration without weak or dead corners. Kirkwood Mall was conceived of and developed by Paul H. Wachter, who had been considering the idea for nearly a decade. The mall would occupy land the Wachters once used as a horse pasture, and later a nursery for George Will, the son of seedmaster Oscar Will. At the time, the Wachters owned much of the land south of Front Avenue, in what was previously prone to wide-scale flooding until the closure of Garrison Dam in 1953. Little development had occurred in the vicinity before Kirkwood. Plans were announced in September 1968, with a formal groundbreaking ceremony in November. Core building commenced the following spring. Its estimated cost of construction was $4 million. Original anchors, as announced, were F.W. Woolworth, Montgomery Ward, and Fargo-based Herbst. Herbigers would ultimately replace Herbst as the third anchor. Osco Drug would become established as a junior anchor, having an outside entrance, but being significantly smaller than full-line anchors. While Herbigers was new to Bismarck, both F.W. Woolworth and Ward's were longtime downtown fixtures, dating back to the 1920s. Osco Drug first opened a Bismarck store in 1957, inside what was originally a JCPenney. Despite its close proximity, Woolworth and Osco would continue operating downtown stores for some time. Woolworth until 1981 and Osco until 1979. Ward's relocated completely from downtown to Kirkwood. In addition to a two-screen movie theater operated by Mid-Continent, other major tenants announced included Zale Jewelry, Baker Shoes, Vanity Shop, Butcheries, Fanny Farmer, Hatch's Hallmark, House of Fabric, Capital Laundry, the State Bank of Burleigh County, K&G Menswear, New Mode Hosiery, and Kinney Shoes. Some of those also had previous downtown stores, including Butcheries. In addition to the mall itself, its original plans included a 7-story, 170-room Sheraton Hotel that would be directly connected by a covered walkway. While the Sheraton Hotel was never developed, the Wachters did develop Kirkwood Motor Inn across the complex in 1974. The separately owned Woolworth department store was the first section of Kirkwood to be completed, opening on March 18, 1970. At almost 73,000 square feet, it was the largest single-floor Woolworth at the time, and the second largest nationwide in terms of overall display space. An impressive feat for what would become the world's biggest department store chain in that same decade. There were 4,250 Woolworth units operating globally as of 1968. The parent company also owned and operated Kinney Shoes and Foot Locker at Kirkwood. In 1980, Woolworths converted its Kirkwood store into Woolco, the chain's discount department store division. It was the only Woolco to ever operate in North Dakota. Of the other anchors, the 101,000 square foot Montgomery Ward store was next to open on September 23, 1970. The Ward's Automotive Center opened shortly before the main store itself. It was among the largest service centers in the region, boasting 8 service bays. The 65,000 square foot Herbigers, which replaced Herbst as the third and final anchor, followed on March 23, 1971. It was the first Herbigers store to be located inside of a shopping center, and the chain's largest store at the time. After the store's resounding success, company officials of the time predicted that all future Herbigers would only open inside of shopping centers henceforth. Despite dropping as an original anchor, Herbst does occupy a store in Kirkwood Mall by August 1971, following its purchase of a store called Black's. It closed in 1981. Most stores opened between May and June of 1970. Plaza Twin, the state's first multi-screen movie theater, opened that November. Supporting stores opened at a rapid pace, leading up to the mall's April 1971 soft opening. A grand opening celebration was held the following month, with namesake Robert Kirkwood in attendance. Mr. Kirkwood served as store manager for the Bismarck Woolworth store from 1932 until 1939. He eventually became chairman and CEO of F.W. Woolworth Company. In 1977, Kirkwood announced plans for a $15 million expansion project, penned Kirkwood 2. When completed in 1980, Kirkwood doubled its original footprint, adding more than 40 stores, with 2 additional anchors, JCPenney and market newcomer Target. Its movie theater also relocated and expanded to 3 screens from 2. Similar to its previous 2-screen historic significance, Plaza 3 was North Dakota's first 3-screen movie theater. The expansion eliminated a portion of Arbor Avenue to the mall's south. At the time of the announcement, it was expected that Kirkwood would become the largest shopping center between Minneapolis and the West Coast, and as far south as Omaha, but Fargo's West Acres completed an expansion in 1979, keeping its lead. Kirkwood's existing 3 anchor spaces were also expanded during the project, adding 27,000 square feet for Woolworths and 2,600 for Ward's. The expansion necessitated Herberger's vacating 23,000 square feet of its original footprint. In turn, the entire anchor space was renovated and extended, resulting in a 15,000 square foot net gain. The store will be remodeled again in 1985 and 1988, before adding 30,000 square feet in 1993 upon closing its Gateway Mall store. Herberger's closed when the company went out of business in 2018. It was the last of the original anchors. The new 106,000 square foot JCPenney store was roughly double that of its former downtown location when it opened in January 1980. Penny's had maintained several different downtown locations since its 1929 Bismarck arrival. The second additional anchor was originally intended to be a Dayton's department store, but its parent company re-evaluated its decision in February 1979 and slated Target's opening instead. It was the 27th Target to open in November 1979.
There seems to be some uncertainty surrounding one of the proposed new tenants, Dayton's. No one seems to know anything about that firm's plans. Dayton's was initially linked to several sites in the city, but all the speculation appeared to end in March of 1977. Since then, however, nothing has been heard about the company's plans. In fact, Dayton's was not represented at groundbreaking ceremonies for the expansion earlier this summer. So speculation has started again, and this time it's centering on rumors that Dayton's is not coming to Bismarck, at least in the near future.
Local reception of the last-minute swap of Dayton's with Target was initially mixed at best. with the common perception that Target was the poor relative of the iconic Dayton's, considered an upscale department store. As a result of this last-minute tenant change, the original Kirkwood store was slightly smaller than stores the company already operated in Fargo and Grand Forks, at about 80,000 square feet. By comparison, the local Kmart's original footprint when it opened in 1971 was 84,000 square feet. When it overtook the former grocery space by the time of Target's arrival, Kmart engrossed 104,000 square feet, excluding the auto center. Despite this, the then Target parent, Dayton-Hudson, anticipated its Bismarck store sales to surpass that of its other North Dakota stores. A Dayton's did ultimately open at Kirkwood in 1985, replacing Woolco. Dayton-Hudson operated a B. Dalton bookstore for years at Kirkwood as well. A week-long grand opening and 9th anniversary celebration was held for Kirkwood 2, May 19th through the 24th of 1980, with an official ribbon cutting on May 21st.
While most of the new stores opened a couple of months ago, the new addition to the shopping center was officially dedicated today. Kirkwood Plaza opened 9 years ago this month, and it was just 2.5 years ago that plans were announced for the addition of Kirkwood 2. The expansion doubled the size of the center, which now covers over 900,000 square feet and makes the center one of the largest between Fargo and the West Coast.
The year after the major expansion, Prudential Life Insurance acquired Kirkwood Mall in February 1981 for a reported $40 million. The Walkers continued management and leasing of the center until 1984. Kirkwood completed a multi-million-dollar remodel in 1985. Plans for the upgrades were announced concurrently in November 1984, with Dayton's pending arrival. The improvements were largely cosmetic, including the palm tree poles lining its atrium until about 2018. In 1984, Shields established an almost 7,600 square foot store at Kirkwood Mall. It was the company's 16th total location and its first all-sports location, with a focus exclusively on sporting goods as opposed to hardware. Shields ran it concurrently with its Arrowhead Plaza store until selling its Arrowhead store in 1988. Between 1984 and 1995, Shields expanded its store at least 4 times to almost 15,000 square feet. Then, in 1995, it nearly doubled to 28,000 square feet by expanding into the former Shades nightclub and Dakota Pets spaces. Shields graduated into a junior anchor and was, at the time, the 6th largest store at Kirkwood, larger than Osco Drug and only smaller than the primary anchors. Shields engulfed its neighboring tenants, Sbarro and Carmel Corn, with store entrances facing 2 hallways and an exterior access. Shields continued ongoing expansion henceforth until encompassing most of the southwest wing by 2012, including the former Target space. Kirkwood has had remarkable stability for its anchors through the decades, relative to other shopping centers. It has had some changes, however. F.W. Woolworth shuttered the entire Woolco division in 1983, including its Kirkwood anchor store, which originally opened as a namesake F.W. Woolworth. Dayton's occupied the space from 1985 until 2001, when it became Marshall Field's, until closing in 2005, when Target Corporation sold the chain. Target tore down the former anchor space, which it owned since opening Dayton's there, and relocated its namesake store in 2006. The new Target store was 40,000 square feet larger than its preceding store, which, as you recall, was on the small side even by 1980 standards. In June 2007, Shields relocated into the adjacent 100,000 square foot former Target space, which was a significant increase from Shields' original location within the mall. Kirkwood saw its longest anchor vacancy in its northwest corner when Montgomery Ward closed on May 2nd, 1999, in response to the company's bankruptcy reorganization. The space sat mostly empty until 2003, when I. Keating Furniture World occupied the space. Plaza 3, the 3-screen movie theater, closed in 2001. CVS Pharmacy, an original junior anchor as Osco Drug, relocated into a new freestanding store located directly northwest of the mall in January 2010. Today, the space is home to Shoe Department Encore. Herberger's was the last of the original anchors to depart when the company's parent Bon-Ton went out of business nationwide in 2018. Tilt occupied the space in 2024. JCPenney, which was added in the 1980 expansion, is the only anchor space to never turn over. In 2016, major construction commenced to renovate an existing 22,000 square foot section of the mall's south side between JCPenney and Shields to accommodate North Dakota's first H&M store, a Swedish apparel retailer. That same year, the mall upgraded its exterior signage and parking lot. In 2018, Kirkwood announced a major renovation project that upgraded its south entrance, restrooms, furniture, and common area flooring, replacing carpet with tile. Another major change was removing the iconic palm tree poles in the atrium, which had been in place since the 1985 renovation. I invite you to check out my 2 Bismarck history books. They are available to purchase on Amazon and select local bookstores. Copies are also available at the Bismarck Public Library. Visit bismarckbook.com for more information. That was our look at Kirkwood Mall. Next, we'll look at the history of Gateway Mall. Is there a local history topic you'd like to be featured? Email historytalk@kfyrtv.com.